The Roman mystics prophesied the coming of a great evil. A vampire.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, where I cover vampires, werewolves, and other supernatural creatures. In this video, we're going to look at the 5 oldest vampires. I'm including movies, TV shows, video games, and books. I've done my best to look through all the media I've covered and found the most ancient vampires I could. I also made a rule of only using 1 vampire per series. That way we don't wind up with 4 vampires from one series. Let's not waste any more time and get into the top 5 oldest vampires. If you enjoy videos about vampires, werewolves, and other supernatural creatures, leave a like and subscribe for new videos every week. One more thing before we get into the vampires. I'm very happy to say Bespoke Post has returned to sponsor another video. They've been the biggest supporter of the channel and their products are genuinely good. I'm not kidding when I say I use Bespoke Post products every day. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club delivering a box of awesome, top shelf goods from under the radar brands. It's free to join and you can skip a month or cancel anytime. 90% of the products come from small brands, many of which are based in the US. This Damascus steel knife from the Forge box is made by Buck & Bear Knives based in Pennsylvania. Every month, they introduce their members to cool new products. Outdoor gear, barware, home and kitchen goods, clothing, and more. Basically just high quality stuff in every category. What you receive is based on a preference quiz you fill out. Each month you'll get a box of awesome assigned to you, and before it's shipped you'll get a preview of what's inside. You can decide if you want to 1. Keep it, 2. Swap it for a different box, or 3. Skip the month entirely for no charge. You only pay for what you want, and they add new boxes every month. They now offer a new membership program where you can get great deals year-round and up to 30% off or more sometimes. And it's totally free to join. Some of my favorite boxes from the past have been the Dram box, the Bullseye box, which has throwing knives from Titan International, and I always like the Scorch box, which comes with an assortment of craft hot sauces. This time I got some really cool stuff. First I got the Alchemy box, and this one is loaded. It's a high quality cocktail kit that comes with a stainless steel Caraco weighted shaking tin. It can be used as a shaker or a mixer, and can be chilled in a freezer. It also comes with a proper pint glass, a Caraco Hawthorne strainer perfectly sized to fit the mixer, a Japanese style jigger to perfectly measure your drinks, a bar spoon with muddler, 2-inch square ice cube tray made with food safe silicone, and a pack of cocktail feeders to try making your own smoked cocktail. I've already made a few drinks with this and I have a feeling it will get a lot of use. I also got the split box that comes with this really nice field hatchet from Bare Bones. It has a carbon steel blade and a solid beechwood handle. This makes it lightweight and easy to use for firewood and other field work. It also comes with a sheath, which is very useful. If you've been wanting to try Bespoke Post, now is a great time. To get a free mystery gift with your first membership purchase, click the link in the description and enter Cogan Gift at checkout, or go to bespokepost.com/CoganGift. Bespoke Post brings great products, supports small brands, and this channel. So thanks to Bespoke Post for sponsoring another video. Starting off at number 5, we have the Master Vampire from Dracula Untold, played by Charles Dance, who also plays the elder vampire Thomas in the Underworld series. He's a very good actor and gives the Master Vampire a mysterious and intimidating presence. The Master Vampire is the first and oldest vampire in the series as far as we know. He lives inside a cave on Broken Tooth Mountain. The priest inside Castle Dracula has a book that shows the creature, and he knows the story of how he became a vampire. The Master Vampire was once a man who summoned a demon from the depths of hell to trade for its dark power. His goal was to get revenge on the one who wronged him, although we never find out who that is. He was granted the power he wanted, but the demon tricked him. His price for the power was an eternity condemned to the darkness of that cave on Broken Tooth Mountain.
The beast was once a mortal man who summoned a demon from the depths of hell.
There is one way he can leave the cave. He must give the darkness a worthy offering, another vessel for it to use. The Master was given many abilities: immortality, the speed of a falling star, the strength of 100 men, dominion over the night and all its creatures, shape-shifting, mind control, enhanced senses, and possibly more we don't know about. One thing that never made it in the movie was a scene where Vlad could turn into a wolf. We do see a flash of this wolf after he drinks the Master's blood. This means the Master can also turn into a wolf, bats, and maybe any quote-unquote creature of the night. The only other one that comes to mind is rats, like in Bram Stoker's Dracula. The question is, how old is the Master? Well, we get a pretty good answer to this. In the original script for the movie, the Master was named as Gaius Caesar, also known as Caligula. a Roman emperor related to the also famous Julius Caesar. Caligula was born in 12 AD, so at the time of the movie, he would be around 1500 years old, except he would actually be around 2000 years old, because the final scene of the movie shows that he is still alive in the present day. So the first vampire we are starting off with is 2000 years old, and trust me, they're gonna get a lot older. If you're interested in the master vampire and learning more about his abilities and my theory of who possibly betrayed him, check out my full video on Dracula Untold. It's probably one of my favorite videos I've ever made. Alright, let's see who's next on the list. At number 4, we have another Dracula, but this time, Drake from Blade 3. He is the first vampire ever created, and the progenitor of his species, Hominis Nocturna. To quote Hannibal King, he was born perfect. Like a great white shark, this guy has never had to evolve. He's been there, behind the scenes, cutting a bloody path through the ages. Drake has the purest form of the vampire virus, making him much stronger than modern day vampires. He has a completely different anatomy. His body is made up of thousands of tiny bones like a snake, allowing him to shapeshift in a really unique way, manipulating his body at the musculoskeletal level. His true form is a massive, demonic-looking creature with red skin and spikes coming out of his body. His mouth has always reminded me of the Arbiter from Halo. I've always found Drake's mouth design interesting, because it's very similar to the Reapers from Blade 2. This insinuates that this feature of the Reapers was not a new mutation, but an old one being unlocked. Whether vampires in Blade are immortal is a tricky question. Purebloods do age to some degree, or else they would just stay as a baby forever. There are purebloods that were born vampires and appear to be in their 40s. Eli Damaskinos is one of the oldest vampires we see, and he resembles a very old man with a feeble body, so they must age, at least very slowly. This is where it gets complicated though. It seems like humans that are turned into vampires don't age at all, so in a weird way, turned vampires are kinda better. When it comes to Drake, he is the progenitor, free from hundreds of generations of selective mutation. Because of this, he is truly immortal. Even though he's the oldest vampire in the series, he appears much younger than Eli and the other elders. Drake was turned into a vampire by the ancient blood god known as Lamagra, the patron deity for vampires. This is the god that Deacon Frost summons in the first Blade film. We are never told the specifics of how Drake came to meet Lamagra, or how exactly he was turned, just that he was the first. In Blade Trinity, they find Drake buried in a tomb in Iraq. The writing in the tomb is cuneiform, a language around 5,000 years old, but he is even older than that. His origin is traced all the way back to ancient Samaria, also known as the cradle of civilization. This area would eventually become part of Egypt, meaning Drake predates the pyramids. According to the legend, he was born around the 4th or 5th millennium BC. This would make Drake roughly 6,000 to 7,000 years old, at least 3 times as old as the master vampire from Dracula Untold. There's a great analogy I heard by the YouTuber Vsauce. The pyramids were as old to the ancient Romans as the ancient Romans are to us. I always thought that was an interesting way to put in perspective how long ago the pyramids were. Now let's see who could be even older than Drake from Blade.
You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world.
At the number 3 spot, the oldest vampire so far is Gyoram from What We Do in the Shadows, also known as the Sire. Once again, this vampire is the first and progenitor of the entire species. It all began with Gyoram. The vampires in this series have many impressive abilities, like increased strength, mind control, flight, enhanced senses, and more. Although they are immortal, their appearance does seem to change over time. I say seems that way because it's not 100% clear. Baron Ophanos appears quite monstrous, and he's 950 years old. But Vlad is 862 and looks completely normal, so it's a bit inconsistent. We actually don't know the exact age of Gyoram, or how he was created. So how did I rank him on the list? Well, the next oldest vampire in the series is Peter, and he is 8,000 years old. Given that Gyoram is the original vampire, he has to be older than Peter. I would guess that the Sire is at least around 10,000 years old, but he could be much older. Peter has devolved into a form very similar to Nosferatu, not capable of regular speech. Gyorm, on the other hand, has devolved even further, into a monstrous gargoyle-like creature. If it takes 8,000 years to get to this point, how long does it take to look like this? I'm going to go with a safe estimate of roughly 10,000 years old, making him around 3,000 years older than Drake.
This is the path of legends and pariahs. I have walked before with those who have tried to cast off jihad. Their reasons were many, but their paths always ended in the same place. Emptiness.
The number 2 spot belongs to Cain from Vampire the Masquerade. Still waiting for Bloodlines 2. Vampire the Masquerade started with a tabletop RPG and eventually was developed into video games and a television show. I'm surprised we haven't got a movie yet. Cain is the first of the vampires, but hasn't been seen in many centuries. Some believe he is dead. Others are a little wiser. He appears briefly in the game Bloodlines, but doesn't identify himself, only appearing as a mysterious driver. But due to the tabletop games and other lore, we know pretty much everything about him. Cain came to be known by many names: the Dark Father, the Wanderer, the Bloody Man, the First Murderer, and more, depending on your beliefs. He is insanely strong compared to other vampires. Modern-day vampires are broken up into different subspecies. Each species specializes in certain abilities. However, Cain has mastery over all vampire abilities. Blood magic, able to boil someone's blood in their veins, mind control, control over animals, super strength, super speed, and more. These vampire abilities are known as disciplines, and there are 17 disciplines in total, plus a few more rare ones that can only be performed by half vampires or caitiff. 2 of my favorite disciplines are Obfuscate and Oblivion. Obfuscate is the ability to appear invisible in plain sight. The person does not physically turn invisible, but makes people unable to perceive you. Cool, right? Oblivion is even better in my opinion. Oblivion allows the vampire to manipulate the shadows. Draw dark power from a place called the Abyss. Say there's a shadow in the corner of your room. Using Oblivion, a vampire would be able to summon creatures from the shadows. Arms to grab you, a cloak made of shadow to hide them. The possibilities are endless. One must be careful when tapping into this unnatural ability. If you're not careful, the Oblivion will stain your soul, so it should be used sparingly. Okay, enough about my favorite abilities from Vampire the Masquerade. The question we're here to answer is, how old is Cain? Well, if you're familiar with the Bible, Cain and Abel were the children of Adam and Eve. Cain was the first ever human to be born because Adam and Eve were created by God. Eventually, Cain murdered his brother Abel. Some say it was out of rage, and others say it was out of a twisted act of love. Either way, Cain is punished, not by God, but by his father Adam, cursing him with a mark and casting him out of Eden to wander in the land of Nod. According to the Book of Nod, this is a void between Eden, a place of complete darkness with no light sources. While wandering, Cain came across someone else in the abyss, Adam's first wife that was also cast out, Lilith. She would teach Cain how to awaken his power and basically become the first vampire. Eventually, he escapes Lilith after their relationship goes sour. He once again returned to wander in the land of Nod, and it's said that he wandered here for eons. This is where things get a little tricky. When it comes to astronomy, eon refers to 1 billion years, but I don't think that's the kind of eon they are talking about. Eon can also refer to an unspecified amount of time between significant events on Earth, or states of Earth itself. The creation of Earth is divided into 4 eons, so my guess would be that Cain is at least 50,000 to 100,000 years old. But depending on the definition of eon, he could be much older. If I were to base his age purely on the age of Adam and Eve from the Bible, he would be around 7,000 years old according to most interpretations of the Bible. But Vampire the Masquerade's biblical history seems to deviate from our own, and the use of the word eons implies that he spent a very long time in the land of Nod before coming back to the world of man. So even on the low end of 50,000 years old, he is quite a bit older than the sire from what we do in the shadows. Finally, let's move on to the number 1 spot and see who the oldest vampire is.
Yes, this blood makes us tenacious and fearless if we will it so. But to what purpose? Surely an end will come one night to the struggle. But will there be a victor?
The number 1 spot goes to the vampire named Mr. Oliver from the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter novel series. Mr. Oliver, also known as the Earth Mover, is a member of the Vampire Council and the oldest living vampire. Since these vampires grow stronger with age, his physical strength surpasses all other vampires, and he can move so fast it resembles teleportation. His nickname, the Earth Mover, comes from the fact that he can create earthquakes big enough to sink cities. He can heal from pretty much anything, has heightened senses, a number of psychic abilities, and more. Not only is he the oldest living vampire on the list, but he might be the strongest as well, although Kane is a strong contender. But the question stands, how old is Mr. Oliver? Well, Anita Blake has only seen one person that looks like Mr. Oliver, and it was in her college anthropology class. It was a reconstruction of a Homo erectus skull. So that means Mr. Oliver is technically not even human. He's pre-human. They are known as the first early humans to possess somewhat modern features. He's described as looking like a handsome man, but with an unusual sloped brow, and he was only 4 feet tall. In the book, it's estimated that he's roughly 1 million years old. And that's a pretty young estimate for Homo erectus, because from what I found, it's more likely he would be around 1.5 million years old. So I think he wins by quite a bit, by at least 1 million years. If these vampires grow stronger with age, and he's that old, his strength would be unimaginable. Also, he's described as being 4 feet tall, but the Homo erectus was actually normal size.
Once you drink, your thirst for human blood will be insatiable.
That's my video on the top 5 oldest vampires. I would like to do a top 5 oldest werewolves, so let me know if you guys would like to see that. It's been a while since I covered anything werewolf related, so I feel like I'm overdue. I recently covered Salem's Lot and explained how old those vampires are. Their spirits have existed since before the dawn of time, so 13.7 billion years. But Kurt Barlow, one of the oldest vampires, is only estimated to be around 2,500 years old. So although the spirit might be 13 billion years old, their body is only around 2,500 years old at most. That's why I excluded him from the list. Also, another honorable mention is Lilith from True Blood. She was created by God at the same time as Adam and Eve. Depending on your interpretation of the Bible and other historical facts, this would make her anywhere from 7,000 years old, like I said before, to over 100,000 years old. I excluded her from the list because it's hard to know exactly how old she is, because they never really reference it directly in the show. And she's literally always naked, so it's hard to show footage of her or even screenshots. Like I said, let me know if you want me to do a top 5 oldest werewolves next. And also, how do you think I did with the list? Do you agree with my choices? Do you think that Mr. Oliver deserves the #1 spot, or did I miss somebody else? I tried to do my best to think of every possible vampire I could, but if somehow there's one out there that I missed that's even older, I would like to know. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. It helps out a lot and I really appreciate it. As always, an extra big thanks to all my members for going out of their way to support the channel. It means a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.